Alright, so in this section we are going to discuss one of the most important expenditure of the PGBP chapter, and the expenditure name is depreciation. So why is depreciation so important? Why are you giving so much of weightage to depreciation? Depreciation is like any other expenditure, sir. We have studied in our financial accountancy, the relevance of depreciation, and depreciation is like any other expenditure which we have in our P&L account. So this is like any other expenditure. No guys, depreciation is not like any other expenditure which we have in our accountancy. Depreciation is a special kind of expenditure. What do you mean by special kind of expenditure? Special kind of expenditure means depreciation is a non-cash expenditure. Non-cash expenditure, okay, yes, which means that expenditure is not actually expensed out of your cash reserves. Your cash reserves do not get depleted by depreciation, by levying depreciation, and depreciation is a non-cash expenditure, which means that businessman need not spend even a single penny. Whatever spending has been done on fixed asset, it has been done in past, but now the businessman need not spend even a single penny. Still he will be eligible for an expenditure known as depreciation. So what, sir? Even if it is a non-cash expenditure, then what is so special about depreciation? Now, from an income tax standpoint, I have already told you that a businessman would like to increase its expenditure so that its profit is reduced, so that its tax is reduced. Every businessman would want to increase its expenditure so that profit is reduced and tax is reduced. Every businessman would want to do that. Now, in case of cash expenditure, where actual cash is to be given to a third party, to an outside party, like rent, like repairs, like maintenance, where invoice is received from the third party and payment is to be done against that invoice, over there, businessman cannot artificially inflate the expenditure, because that is to be actually payment is to be made to a third party. There it is not possible to increase or decrease or manipulate with the number of the expenditure. But in case of an expenditure which is a non-cash expenditure, where a third party is not involved, over there it is very easy to manipulate the depreciation amount. Now, a businessman would definitely want to increase its eligible depreciation so that it claims additional depreciation in its return of income. Therefore, I tell you that depreciation is an expenditure where a lot of litigation has happened in past, a lot of to and fro between the department and the assessee has happened in past, and lot of controversies have arisen, because the way depreciation is claimed under the income tax regime, the method in which depreciation is claimed, the assessee would definitely like to manipulate it, definitely would like to increase the expenditure so that the profit is reduced. And therefore, depreciation is definitely a difficult expenditure to deal with. From an exam standpoint as well, depreciation is an important expenditure, and depreciation holds a good weightage in your PGBP chapter as well. So I've already told you we'll spend approximately 4 to 5 hours only in discussing depreciation. That is the importance of this particular concept called depreciation. Now, I'll start by giving you an example of financial accounting. So we have already studied depreciation according to financial accounts. There are depreciation rates which are there in financial accounts. You debit your financial accounts with a certain kind of depreciation. The amount calculation is absolutely different in income tax versus financial accounts. So whatever depreciation is debited to P&L account as per the financial account, we will ignore it, because our computation of depreciation will be absolutely different from financial accounts. We will ignore that computation which we compute in accounts. We have a specific mechanism. We have our own mechanism of computing depreciation under the Income Tax Act, which we will follow, and that depreciation will be the depreciation which we will allow as per the Income Tax Act. So let's start this controversial, this interesting, this very unique topic of depreciation, which is, yes, different from whatever you have studied in accounts. So if you have studied depreciation in accounts and you say that, oh sir, depreciation is my is in my kitty, any time and point I can compute depreciation. So that is too easy for me. Please do not be under this impression, because under the Income Tax Act, depreciation is a little typical. So let's start depreciation. Now I have put some basic stuff, some basic gyan, some basic concepts of depreciation in this particular chart which we'll be studying, and post completing this chart we'll be moving on to the computation of depreciation. Okay, so let's first of all understand, why is depreciation charged? What is the reason? What is the reason for which we charge depreciation on our fixed assets? What is the reason why a non-cash expenditure known as depreciation is charged in our P&L account on our fixed assets? So why is depreciation charged is my first question. So there are two reasons why depreciation is charged. Reason number one is wear and tear. Reason number two is efflux of time. First, understand what do you mean by wear and tear. These words we have used since our 11th standard. Whenever we are describing depreciation, these words come to our mind naturally. Wear and tear. So machinery is being used. There has been a one-time expenditure which has been done on the machinery, which is the capital expenditure, but machinery is being used every year. The useful life of the machinery is limited to 5 years or 8 years or 10 years. So every year, whatever wear and tear is happening in the machinery, we need to reduce the value of machinery by that amount and charge it to P&L account. So the reason why depreciation is charged is that our capital assets, be it plant and machinery, be it building, be it furniture, is subject to wear and tear, is subject to reduction in its value, and that reduction in value is known as depreciation. So first reason why depreciation is charged is wear and tear, which means depletion of our assets according to the use pattern. If our use pattern is very aggressive, then our machineries get used to or wear and teared very quickly, so the depreciation rate is high. For certain assets, depreciation rate is low, like building is a depreciating asset which is very low on wear and tear, so the depreciation rate is low. And there are certain assets like land where wear and tear doesn't happen, so there's no wear and tear, there's no depreciation on land. So depending upon how fast is our machinery depleting, how fast is our machinery getting consumed, we charge depreciation according to this parameter. Depending upon the estimated useful life of the machinery. So if estimated useful life is only 2 years, then our depreciation rate will be very high. If the estimated useful life is 8 years, our depreciation rate will be very, very low. So depending upon the consumption, depending upon the depletion, depending upon the utilization of a particular asset, we charge depreciation. Second, efflux of time. So what is this word efflux? We have heard this word for the first time. Efflux means passage of time. So time moves on. Time is is in motion, is ever changing, is ever going ahead. So passage of time is another method or another thing which drives the depreciation. So efflux of time means there are certain assets which are not used on a daily basis. Only if a particular event happens, then only that particular asset will be used. But still, do we charge depreciation on such assets? I'll give you an example. Fire extinguishers. Fire extinguishers are installed on every business premises, on every factory building. Government of India has mandated, even the state governments have mandated putting fire extinguishers at workplace, at coaching institutes, at educational institutes. Within a particular area, you need to put fire extinguishers. Now the question is, fire extinguishers are not being used. Sometimes fire extinguishers are not used even all through their entire life because fire doesn't break out. Now there is no wear and tear of that fire extinguisher. It is brand new till the last date. There is no wear and tear in case of fire extinguisher. There is no depletion of that asset in case of fire extinguisher if it is not used. Even if it is used once in 5 years, then the wear tear will not be sufficient enough to recuperate the entire amount of the fire extinguisher. What to do? Will depreciation not be levied on fire extinguisher? Answer is yes, depreciation will be levied on fire extinguisher on the basis of second usage parameter, which is efflux of time. If time passes on, if time moves on and there is efflux of time, there is passage of time, then depreciation is leviable on efflux of time as well. Passage of time, depreciation is definitely leviable. So whether your asset is being used or not being used, I repeat, whether your asset is being used or not being used, which means it is used at a particular event, under both the situations, depreciation will be levied. Depends on the nature of the asset, guys. So if nature of the asset is such that it is used only once in your lifetime, or never in your lifetime. If the nature is such, then depreciation will be levied on passive use. Passive use means we are not using it actively, we are using it passively. But if the asset is used actively, then we will charge the depreciation on active use. Now the question arises that, sir, if we say have an AC installed in our business, and AC is working fine, we are utilizing the AC, but for a short span of time, say 6 months or so, we switch off the AC, we do not use the AC. Would the depreciation be charged even during that period? Answer is yes. Once depreciation start, it never ends till the asset is actually uninstalled or the asset is sold off. Once the depreciation starts, it will continue forever. Depreciation will not stop. So, two reasons why depreciation is levied. One, wear and tear. Second, efflux of time. If time is being passed on, then depreciation will definitely be levied. And if the asset is such that efflux of time will be the relevant portion, then depreciation will definitely be levied. Efflux of time means passage of time, and this is known as passive use of an asset which is passively used only. It is made for passive use only, like fire extinguisher. They are not made for extensive use, they are made for passive use. So depreciation will be charged on passive use as well as active use. So use of asset is the second relevant criteria for claiming depreciation. This use can be of two types: active use as well as passive use. So first necessary condition of applying depreciation is you should be owner. I'll be coming on ownership in the next arrow. Right now we are discussing use. So use can be active use or passive use. I've made you understand what do you mean by passive use. Passive use means where the asset is not being used actively, where the asset is not being used regularly, but the asset is used based on contingency. Whenever the need arises, whenever the situation demands so, we use the asset. That is known as passive use, and on both the uses the depreciation will be applicable. That is the first parameter. Why is depreciation charged? Because of two reasons: A, wear and tear of that asset; B, passive use or efflux of time of that particular asset. The depreciation is levied. Now question number 2, who can charge depreciation, or who can claim depreciation as an expenditure in its P&L account? Who can charge depreciation? Who can claim depreciation? Obviously, the owner of the asset can claim depreciation. So the first and foremost requirement of claiming depreciation is that you should be an owner. You should be an owner of the asset to claim depreciation. Now, ownership also entails two different legs. Leg number 1, you can be the legal or registered owner of that particular asset. So naturally, if I am owning this laptop, I have a laptop in front of me. If I am an owner of this laptop, then I will claim depreciation of this laptop. If my company, suppose if I've made another company, which is Nikhil Gupta Classes Private Limited. If I made a company, if that company is owner of this asset, then that company will claim depreciation on this asset. So whosoever is the registered owner, the legal owner, the owner whose name is written on the invoice, on the bill which is being generated, that particular owner will be the legal owner or the registered owner of that particular asset, and that owner will be eligible to claim depreciation on that particular asset. But sometimes in case of assets, the legal ownership is not transferred, but beneficial ownership is transferred. I'll give you an example. It typically happens in case of property. Okay, so I want to buy a property. The property is located in a posh colony of Delhi. Now that property is worth 1 crore rupees. So, I approach the seller and I tell him that, okay, I'll give you 1 crore rupees. Please sell the property to me. The seller agrees. The seller says, okay, give me 1 crore rupees, and from 1st of September, the property is yours. You come over here, stay over here, enjoy yourself, and the property is yours. I say, okay, I'll give you the money and you hand over the asset to me, but this asset is a capital asset. This asset is a house property asset. So you need to transfer the legal ownership, or registration should be transferred in my name to make me the legal owner subsequently. The seller says, okay, we'll transfer this in your case, in your name subsequently. So, registration takes a bit of time, guys. Drafting the sales deed, drafting the agreement, having the stamp paper notarized, photographs, all that legal drafting takes time. So 1st of September, I moved into the house. The house keys was handed over to me. I paid the money to the seller. Everything was done. only the legal formalities, which means in writing I was not the owner of that particular property. So the registration took another 5 months for the property to get transferred in my name. 5 months. So 5 months I was staying in that property, but I was not the legal owner of that property, but I was the beneficial owner of that property, because all the benefits of the property were being enjoyed by me. Suppose a property was destroyed due to some reason, the repair and maintenance cost would have been borne by me. So I was the beneficial owner of that property, which means risks and rewards relating to property were mine, but legally on documents, on registration deed, on the papers, my name was nowhere there. Paper was in name of the old legal owner. Now in this case, would depreciation for those 5 months be allowed to the old owner or the new owner? Would depreciation be allowed to the old owner, who is the legal owner, who is my old owner, or the new owner, which is me, myself, the beneficial owner? Income Tax Act says, in case the property is transferred beneficially in name of another person during the time when legal ownership is still in name of the old owner, during that time the beneficial owner is eligible to claim the depreciation. The old owner, who is the registered owner, who is the legal owner, is not eligible to claim depreciation. The new owner, or who's the beneficial owner, is eligible to claim the depreciation, because the fruits of that particular property, the fruits of that particular asset, the risks and rewards of that particular asset are being enjoyed by the new owner. Therefore, the new owner is eligible to claim depreciation in this case. This is the provision of Income Tax Act. So the difference between legal owner or the registered owner and the beneficial owner is that legal ownership means being an owner on papers, on documents. However, beneficial owner means till the time documents are being transferred in your name, you are enjoying the property. So a person who's enjoying the property, a person who's enjoying the assets, that particular person will be actually the beneficial owner, and that particular person is eligible to claim depreciation. So guys, I'll give you another example, okay? You own a car. I tell you, okay, I want to buy your car. You said, okay, sir, I can sell the car to you. So I pay you money and you hand over the keys to me. I ask you to transfer the sales deed to me. I tell you that, okay, transfer the sales deed to me. You tell me that, sir, I have my exams next month, okay, of CMA final. So I won't be able to do those legal formalities right now. Please wait for 5 months, okay? And after 4-5 months, I will transfer the car to you. I said, okay, you transfer the car to me. After 4 months, after exams are there, don't worry, give your exams. You have anyways transferred the car to me. I've paid you the money, so everything is done. Only paperwork is pending. I will get the paperwork done afterwards. During that tenure of 4 months or 5 months, who will be eligible to claim depreciation? Of course, I will be eligible to claim depreciation because I am the beneficial owner of that particular asset. I will be eligible to claim depreciation during that period. So that is the concept of beneficial ownership. If you are beneficially owner of a particular asset, then you will be eligible to claim depreciation of that particular asset. That is the concept of beneficial owner, being the beneficial owner. Okay, sir. So yes, who can charge the depreciation or who can claim the depreciation in its P&L account, in its profit and loss account? Who can reduce its profit by depreciation? Either the legal owner or the registered owner or the beneficial owner, either of them can claim the depreciation. Preference will always be given to the beneficial owner in case legal owner is someone else and beneficial is someone else. Preferences will always be given to the beneficial owner. Okay, sir. Now, how is depreciation charged? The question is now, how is depreciation charged? We have already seen answers to question, why is depreciation charged? Who can charge the depreciation? Now, the question is, how can depreciation be charged? Which relates to method of claiming depreciation. What is the method using which depreciation is claimed? What is the method? Now, in accountancy, you have studied 2 methods. SLM, straight line method, WDV, written down value method. These are the 2 methods which you have studied in your accountancy with respect to depreciation. Now, in taxation, there is only one method to charge depreciation. That is WDV, written down value method. That is the only method by which you can charge depreciation, by which you can compute your depreciation. There is only one exception to this golden rule, and I'll write the exception in red color. In case of power generating units, or the companies which are engaged in generation and distribution of power. So two kind of entities which are eligible to claim depreciation on the basis of SLM also. They have an option whether they want to claim under WDV method or SLM method. So two categories of companies have been given this option. Category is power generating units, the companies who are generating power, and second option is the companies who are in the business of generation and distribution of power. So even if you are distributing power to various states, various areas, then also you can have this option of claiming depreciation on the basis of either SLM or WDV. Rest for all other entities, all other kind of business organization, the only method which is prescribed is WDV method, written down value method, which means after every year you will compute a WDV and your next depreciation will be applicable on that WDV. So your WDV will keep on reducing and your depreciation will also keep on reducing. In case of SLM, the depreciation remains constant for each of the year. So if depreciation is 1 lakh rupees in the first year, second year it will be 1 lakh, third year 1 lakh, 1 lakh, 1 lakh. Straight line method, all the depreciations will be the same in each of the years. However, in case of WDV method, the depreciation will reduce each of the years. So WDV will also reduce each of the year. So if in first year the depreciation was 1 lakh rupees, in the next year the depreciation will be 90,000 rupees, in the subsequent it will be 88,000 rupees or whatever, and it will keep on reducing. That is the WDV method. So yes, the common principle, the generic principle is that WDV method is being used for calculating depreciation as per the Income Tax Act. So, what if we have computed our depreciation in the financial accounts using SLM method? Guys, doesn't matter because we are anyways ignoring the depreciation which has been computed as per the financial accounts. We are anyways ignoring it. We are not putting that depreciation in our P&L account. We are ignoring that depreciation. For computing income tax, we are putting depreciation which is computed as per our Income Tax Act. We are ignoring that depreciation which has been computed using the financial accounting methodology. We are not bothered about it. Yes, it happens sometimes that financial accounting has depreciation as per the SLM method and income tax has depreciation as per the WDV method. It happens quite a lot. I have seen in many cases, but we ignore financial accounting depreciation and we are concerned about the income tax depreciation, which is to be strictly given as per the WDV method. Written down value method is the method to be adopted while computing depreciation under the Income Tax Act. Now, another thing which is to be noted over here is that WDV method is to be applied on block of assets. WDV method is to be applied on block of assets. So now, WDV or SLM, we have answered that WDV is the primary method on which depreciation is computed. Now, there is another method of another system of computing depreciation, which is block of asset method. The reverse of it is individual asset method. But sir, what is the difference between individual asset method and block of asset method? So guys, individual asset method is the same method which you use in your financial accounting, which means you charge depreciation on each and every individual asset which is there in your business. So if you have 10 plant and machinery, 10 separate set of plant and machineries, you list down all those 10 plant and machinery in your fixed asset register and you charge depreciation on those 10 plant and machinery separately. This is the individual asset method, which is the usual method which you follow in your financial accounting. This is the accounts method, the normal usual method. But this is a new method which is there only under Income Tax Act. There is no other provision, there is no other law where block of asset is being used as a method of charging depreciation, whereby rather than charging depreciation on individual assets, all the assets which belong to same category means the class of assets should be the same, which means all plant and machinery where depreciation rate is constant are clubbed together and the depreciation is charged on all of them together. So rather than listing all the 10 plant and machinery separately, we will combine all of them and we will have only one head or only one block which is known as plant and machinery, and we will charge depreciation together. So what is the meaning of this word block? The meaning of this word block is group. group of assets method is another name for this particular method, which is block of assets method. So under the individual asset method, all the assets are listed separately and their depreciation is claimed separately. However, in case of block of assets method, all the assets which belong to same class of assets and which belong to same percentage of depreciation rate, they are clubbed together and they are treated as one asset. They are treated as one asset and their depreciation is also levied in a consolidated manner. So all the assets are clubbed together and only the block of the asset is eligible for depreciation. Guys, as soon as I finish the basic concepts of depreciation, I will teach you how to compute depreciation. Over there, I'll be able to demonstrate how the assets are clubbed together, all the assets are combined together to create a particular block of similar class of assets, and then depreciation is levied on that particular class of assets. This is known as the block of asset method. However, in case of financial accounting, you always use individual asset method, which means you list down all the assets separately and you charge depreciation on all the assets separately. In case of income tax, no separate charging of depreciation happens on similar class of assets. All the similar class of assets are clubbed together under one block, under one group, and they are eligible for depreciation consolidatedly. That is the block of asset method. It's a very strong tool, very powerful method, because it is less cumbersome, it is less taxing, it is less lengthy, it is very less lengthy, and by less taxing, it doesn't mean that it will levy less tax. Less taxing means it's less difficult, it is less lengthy, because to list all the 10 assets and to maintain their individual identity separately is a humongous task. Rather than whatever assets come of the same class of assets, we club them under one category only, and that is an easier way of computing depreciation. So block of asset method is relatively easier, is relatively short as compared to the individual asset method, and therefore block of asset method is really a powerful tool, is a strong method which is used for computing depreciation. So block of asset method is the method using which the depreciation is charged. So depreciation is charged on WDV method on the block of assets. So block of assets, group of assets are clubbed together, and then depreciation is charged on those block of assets. So this is the WDV method on block of assets. All right. Now, sir, under Income Tax Act, is there any asset on which we can charge individual assets method also? So the general rule is that we need to charge depreciation on block of assets. That is understandable. But is there any exception to this rule whereby the Income Tax Act will allow us to charge depreciation on individual asset method? Yes, guys, the exception is absolutely the same. The exception which we had in WDV method, the exception is power generating unit or generation and distribution of electricity or power, are two areas where the assessee is given an option to choose between the SLM method or WDV method, and if he chooses SLM method, then he is also required to prepare its assets using the individual asset method. So same exception which is applicable in WDV, same exception is applicable in case of block of asset also. Power generating unit and all the units which are dwelling into the power generation, the electricity generation and distribution, over there the method which is charged by the assessee can be individual asset method also. So yes, prima facie, primarily on an overall basis, WDV method is the prime method which is used to compute depreciation. Block of asset method is the prime method which is used to compute depreciation. However, there are exceptions to it. Exceptions are power generating unit and generation and distribution of power. In both these cases, WDV method can be replaced by SLM method, and block of asset method can be replaced by individual asset method. So that is how depreciation is charged under the Income Tax Act. Next is, when is depreciation charged? So yes, I didn't have space, so I had to make this particular section a little below. So if you have space on your register, guys, please put it along with these categories itself. When is depreciation charged? So what do you mean by when is depreciation charged? When means at what stage of use of a particular asset should the depreciation be charged? Answer is put to use. Answer is put to use. When you put the asset to use At that point in time, depreciation should be charged. So what is so radically different, or something which is exceptional, something out of the box that you have said? Obviously, when depreciation is used, only then the depreciation will be charged. No guys, it is not so simple, because in case of financial accounting, the principle is, when the asset is ready to use or put to use, whichever is earlier, the depreciation can be charged according to financial accounts. In income tax, ready to use is not the relevant criteria. The only criteria is put to use. Now let me distinguish between ready to use and put to use for all of you. Okay, what is the difference between ready to use and put to use? Okay, I buy an AC, air conditioner, for my office, and that air conditioner is kept in that carton and is kept inside my office. I have purchased it and I will be installing it in a while whenever the person will come. So that AC is purchased. AC is purchased on what date? AC is purchased on 1st January 2022. AC is purchased, kept in my office. Now, after 1 week, on 7th of January 2022, the person from the company comes inside my office. He unwraps the AC and installs it on one of the walls. He unwraps the AC and installs it on one of the walls. He takes some installation charges and the AC is installed on my wall. So, on 7 January 22, this is the date of purchase. This is the date of installation. The AC is installed on 7 January 22. Now my entire staff is very excited that yes, finally we have got an AC in our office. We were sweating like anything in summer season, and we didn't like to come to office sitting under a fan and not having an AC. So they are super excited. They want to open this AC and on this AC and start this AC. So I tell them, just wait. This AC will start from 1st April 2022. Everyone is staring at me. Everyone is saying, why? Why should we start the AC on 1st April 22? I tell them, because in the month of January in Delhi, there is so much cold that if AC is put to use in the month of January, then everyone will fall ill. Because January is freezing cold in Delhi. It's freezing cold in Delhi. So I suggest all my staff, although AC is installed on 7 January 22, do not open the AC. Do not open the AC. Let the AC remain shut. Open the AC from 1st April 22. From 1st April 22, you should open the AC and start using the AC, because from 1st April 22, the weather conditions change. In April, weather conditions in Delhi change and there is a bit of humidity in the temperature and warmness in the temperature. So do not use it in 3 months, January, February, March. Use it from 1st of April. So, now please tell me, out of these 3 days, on what date is the AC ready to use? Sir, the AC is ready to use on 7th January 2022. AC is ready to use on 7th January 2022. When is the AC put to use? The AC is put to use on 1st April 2022. As per the financial accounting, from which date should the depreciation start? As per financial accounting, the depreciation should start from the date on which the AC is ready to use, that is 7th of January 22. So the depreciation should start from 7th of January 22. However, as per the Income Tax Act, the AC should start on the date when it was put to use. On the date on which it was put to use. That is the differentiation between financial accounting and income tax. Income tax says, when should the depreciation be charged? It should be started on the date when the AC was actually put to use. So when the AC is ready, when the AC is fitted, but you are not using it, you have not started using it due to several reasons. There might be a reason that commercial production has not started, therefore your plant and machinery has not started as yet. You will start the commercial production later on, then your AC or your plant and machinery will be started. This can be one of the reasons. So whatever is the reason, if you are put to use the asset on 1st April 2022, then your depreciation will also start from 1st April 22. This you need to keep in mind while calculating depreciation as per the Income Tax Act. Income Tax Act doesn't permit ready to use as the relevant criteria for claiming depreciation. Now my question to you, and you know the answer already, okay? So don't say, sir, we don't know the answer. You know the answer. My question to you, state one exception where under the Income Tax Act itself, the asset will be depreciated from the date of ready to use. You know the answer, okay? Don't tell me that you don't know the answer. You, of course, you know the answer. For sure, you know the answer. Tell me one exception where under the Income Tax Act also the asset will be depreciated from ready to use date and not from put to use date. The asset will be used from ready to use date. Give me one exception in the Income Tax Act whereby the asset will be depreciated from the date when it was ready to use. Give me one name of that one exception. The name of that one exception is the assets which are passively used. Assets like fire extinguishers. Fire extinguishers are passively used. In case of fire extinguishers, we will not wait for the date when the asset is actually put to use. The day when asset is ready to use, we will claim depreciation from that date itself. So in case of assets which are passively used, which are not used actively, all those assets will be depreciated from the date when the asset is ready to use. The moment asset is installed, the asset is ready to use. Even if we have not used them, if they're installed, if they are there, then we will start claiming depreciation. But for assets which are actively used, like plant and machinery, like building, like furniture, like any other asset which is used in production process, all those assets will be depreciated only when they are actually put to use. Only when you actually use them, utilize them, only when you actually on their button and start using them. From that date, that asset should be capitalized and that asset should be claimed as depreciation. So this is an interesting demarcation or differentiation between the financial level of assets, between the financial accounting and the tax accounting. That in financial accounting, ready to use is the relevant criteria. Ready to use. In income tax, put to use is the relevant criteria. Income tax says no, we will not give depreciation if the asset is not being used by the entity. Income Tax Act says that ready to use is not the relevant criteria, put to use is the relevant criteria. However, financial accounting says that ready to use can also be a relevant criteria. Now the last limb of this transaction of the concept is rate of charge. Now what is the rate of depreciation which is used to claim depreciation, which is used to charge depreciation? What is that rate of depreciation? So guys, rate of depreciation is given in the Income Tax Act. So we have broadly four classes of assets: building, furniture, plant and machinery, and intangible assets. We have four class of assets under the depreciation regime of Income Tax Act. What are those four classes? Building, furniture, plant and machinery, intangible assets. Now in building also we have three subclass. One is building which is exclusively used for commercial purposes like office, like residential premises. Other is building which is used for clubs, recreation facility, or any sort of passive premises. And third is other category of building. So buildings are divided into three parts. Plant and machinery is also divided into several parts, and furniture is also divided into several parts, and the depreciation rates of each part are different. And in subsequent lectures we'll be discussing it in detail. So depreciation rates of each of the parts are different, and we can claim depreciation separately for all these types of assets. So depreciation rates are specified in the Income Tax Act, but one unique feature about these depreciation rates is given over here, and we'll be discussing it now. Now the feature is you've seen financial accounting. In financial accounting, if depreciation is claimed, then it is claimed on the basis of number of days. So what do you mean by that? Number of days. What do you mean by number of days? I'll give you an example. So if out of 365 days, the asset is used only for 100 days. The cost of the asset is 10,000 rupees. The rate of depreciation is 15%. So how will the depreciation be computed? Depreciation will be computed by multiplying 10,000 with the rate of depreciation and multiplied by number of days for which the asset was utilized, divided by the total number of days which are there in the year. This is how depreciation is claimed as per the normal accounting regime. According to normal accounting regime, depreciation is claimed on a daily basis. Daily basis means what? If these assets are used for say 56 days, then you will claim depreciation for 56 days. If these assets are used for 6 days, then the depreciation is claimed for 6 days. So the depreciation is claimed according to financial accounting regime on a daily basis, on a basis which is variable. On a daily basis it might vary, it might change. However, in case of income tax, there is an easier method to claim depreciation. Now, you know, putting yourself into this position where we are calculating the number of days for which the asset is being utilized and then multiplying it, it becomes very difficult, and especially considering the situation where we have individual assets method. All the assets might have different dates of put to use during the year. So, you know, calculating for each asset, calculating the number of days for which it was utilized is a very, very hefty task, okay? Very, very lengthy task. And at the end of the day, you are computing depreciation. So, you know, because of these number of days, the difference will be minuscule. So in Income Tax Act, we have an easier way of dealing with this number of days concept, how to prorate the number of days. Proration should not happen as per the number of days. Income Tax Act has given us a simple criteria. The assets which are used for more than 180 days, assets which are used for 180 days or more, those assets should be charged at 100% of depreciation rate. So whether the asset is used for 182 days, whether the asset is used for 192 days, whether the asset is used for 200 days, or whether the asset was used for entire 365 days, the depreciation will be charged on a wholesome manner, which means 10,000 multiplied by 15%. Nothing doing. We will not prorate on the basis of number of days. We will not complicate our computation any further. We are not going to do that. We want to make our life easier. Ease of doing business. We want to make our lives easier and we don't want to complicate the situation. Therefore, we will, if the utilization of the assets is more than 180 days, whether it's 182, whether it's 192, whether it's 200, whether it's 365, doesn't matter. If it is above 180 days, then we are going to charge 100% of the depreciation. And if it is for less than 180 days, now less than 180 days can be 160, can be 150, can be 100, or can be 2. We can also use an asset for 2 days. So, you know, to give you an example, if I purchase the asset on 29th March 2022, if I buy an asset on 29th March 2022, if I buy an asset at the fag end 29th March 22, if I buy the asset and use it only for 2 days, even then the depreciation will be levied at the rate of 50%. Ease of calculating depreciation. We don't want to get into that headache of calculating the number of days for which the assets is being used and then putting number of days as a pro rata figure. We are taking a shortcut. We are taking whatever is suggested by the Income Tax Act, and Income Tax Act suggests if the asset is used for less than 180 days, then you simply multiply your depreciation by 50%, and if the asset is used for more than or equal to 180 days, then you simply give 100% credit of depreciation. There is nothing in between 50 and 100. Either 50 or 100. Either 50 or 100. Sir, what if, now I'll give you an example, okay? So what if the asset is purchased in 1 year, so the asset is purchased on say 28th March 22, asset is purchased on 28th March 22 and it is actually put to use on 4th April 22, what will we do then? For financial year 21-22, what will we do? Zero depreciation, guys, zero depreciation. According to Income Tax Act, ready to use is not the relevant criteria. Put to use is the relevant criteria when your depreciation should start. So 28th March, the asset is purchased. It is also been installed maybe, but it was used from 4th April 22. Therefore, financial year 22-23 will be eligible to claim full depreciation on this particular asset. But financial year 21-22, you will claim no depreciation at all on this particular asset because the asset was not put to use in financial year 21-22. Now you need to consider whether your asset is being used for more than 182 days or less than 182 days. If it is used for more than 182 days, then equal to more than 182 days, then you will be claiming 100% of the depreciation. If it is used for less than 180 days, then you will be claiming half of the depreciation. So 180 days is the relevant criteria. Now, so can you tell us when does this 180 days lapse? So what is the date during the year when we can say that 180 days will lapse? The date is 4th of October of each year. So if the asset is installed and put to use, so if the asset is put to use, actually not installed, if the asset is put to use on 4th October or onward dates, if the asset is put to use on 4th October or onward dates, which means 5th October, November, December, January, February, March. If the asset is put to use from 4th of October or onwards the date, then it will be eligible for 50% of depreciation, because then 180 days will be covered. Less than 180 days will be covered, so the depreciation will be eligible for 50 days, 50%, which means half. And if the asset is put to use on 3rd of October or any preceding date, if the asset is put to use on 3rd of October or any preceding date, then the asset will be charged to 100% of depreciation. So you can calculate, okay, you can calculate yourself the number of months, and please calculate backwards, which means you should calculate from March, Feb, Jan, December, November, October, September, August. So you have to calculate from backwards. When the year ends, you have to calculate backwards, and the date which you will reach 180 days is the date which is 4th of October. So if the asset is put to use on 4th of October and onwards date, then it will be eligible for 100% of depreciation. If it is put to use for less than 4th of October, which means 3rd of October or preceding dates, then it is used for 100% of it is eligible for 100% of depreciation. If it is put to use on 4th October and onwards date, it is eligible for 50% depreciation. If it is put to use on 3rd October and preceding dates, then it is eligible for 100% of depreciation. So yes, this is a unique feature of depreciation claiming under the Income Tax Act vis-a-vis the accounts provisions which you have already studied in your accountancy. Now these provisions are relevant from a computation standpoint. Of course, the percentages which are there for calculating the depreciation, we'll be studying them in our subsequent lectures, and in our book also these rates are given, which we'll be studying subsequently.